Now, one of the great features of Dreamweaver CS6 is its ability to support HTML5 video. In order to get this particular tutorial underway, what I'd like you to do is to go to your site management, and if you're not already in Chapter 10 in the Killer App Start files, you can create your site to do so. But I have mine ready here, and what I'd like to do is to go to the Start menu, and here under Pages, what I'd like you to do is to double-click the video page. Once that page is open, I'll just point you to the fact that within the Start file there happens to be a folder called Video, and within that folder there are actually two videos, one called Sample MP4 and the other one called sample.theora.ogv. Well, these are the two sample files that we'll be using in our tutorial, and one of the things that I do need to point out is the fact that they both have two different extensions. This is the simple fact that in different browsers, when we're working with HTML5 video, there's certain codecs that are supported in some browsers but not in others. So that's why we actually have two of them, and they're using the most common formats that you'll see when working with HTML5 video. One is the MP4 and one is the OGV extension, which is actually an OGG extension. It's known as the Theora codec, and that's why I've left it here in the name, sample.theora.ogv. Now, if you're wondering whether or not you'll be able to insert your own video into this particular format and working with HTML5, you're probably going to need these two different types of codecs. Now, the MP4 one actually is a codec known as H.264, and that one is most common in browsers like Safari and Google Chrome. However, OGG, or in this case the OGV codec, is one that is supported in Firefox. So these are the ones that you're going to be working with. But what if you only have something like an AVI file or a QuickTime MOV file? How do you go about converting these elements? Well, before we get into Dreamweaver and actually putting those video elements within our pages, what I would like to point out is that you can go online and you can find a specific video converter. And I'm going to point out one for you right here. You'll notice there is a specific video converter called the Miro video converter. Here you can find it online at mirovideoconverter.com. It's a really simple and easy to use video converter, and it's absolutely free and 100% open source, as you can see here. You can download it for Mac or PC. And as you'll see, the video converter basically either you just drag a video file here and then you just pick a device or format that you're looking for. It's really simple, very easy to use. So that's one that you can use if you happen to have some video that is not in the two codec that we are using in our example. So that's something I just wanted to mention before we actually get started. Now let's return back to Dreamweaver. So here we are in Dreamweaver, and I've got the video start file that we were working with a little bit earlier. And what we want to be doing is, let me just show you in the design view that I've removed the picture that was here in the previous examples, and in its place we're going to be positioning a simple piece of video right here. Now you'll notice if we return to the code view that if I scroll down in the main area, you'll see that we have two paragraphs, very simple paragraphs. And what I'd like you to do is to add a little bit of space between those paragraphs. So here is the H1 that says preview of killer app. Then we have a very simple little piece of a paragraph and a little bit of a longer paragraph right underneath it, all within the article that has the ID called main. Well, within the space between those two paragraphs, let's introduce what we're going to be needing for our example. First of all, I'd like you to enter in information starting with the video tag itself. So in HTML5, we now have the ability to work with the video tag. Now this video element was not in existence prior to the HTML5 environment. So this is really a godsend for anybody who's working within the HTML5 environment and wants to introduce video into their work. So the first thing we're going to do is to add an attribute to this video tag. So let's put a space, and you'll notice that within this I want you to write a width. So as soon as you put WI, you'll see the little drop down menu, so you can press return on your Mac or enter on your PC. And just by doing that, it's going to put the quotation marks for you. Now the one that I've prepared for you will fit very nicely within the layout that we've defined. So I've made one that has 600 for the width, and after that let's introduce a second attribute. So we'll put a space, and then we'll say H for height, and we can double click it or press return. And let's enter a height of 338. That's the size of what I want to be working with. Now, I also want to introduce the availability of controls. So in other words, I want to have, play button and among other things. So just put a little space here, and let's say CON, and you'll see here controls. So just click on that, and unlike some of the other attributes, we don't have to have equals something. We just say controls, which means, yes, I want to see some controls on this. Now, do keep in mind that because we're working with two different formats and two different browsers that we're specifically going to be targeting, these controls may look different in one versus the other. So let's close this opening tag. Now, before we add anything else, let's just hit the return key a couple of times. And let's put in a / closing video tag. Now that we've enclosed that video tag, what we want to be doing is indicating where the source of our video will actually come from. So let's just indent with the tab key, and we'll start out by putting a source tag in here. And once we have that, we're going to then write src, and as soon as you see sr, you can press return, and you can press return again to browse for the file that you're going to be looking for. So the file that we want is inside Killer App in the Start folder under Video. First one we will choose is the MP4 video. So let's open that up, and once we've done so, we also need to indicate what type we are looking for. So I'm going to say TY, and then we'll just double click on type, and in here we're going to write video / MP4. Now once we have that in place, we're going to just use a self-enclosing tag. This source tag doesn't have an open and close, it's just one tag, so we'll put a / and then close that tag up. I'll press return, and we're going to do the same thing for our OGV video, or OGG. So let's say source, and as soon as we have that in place, we will indicate the src source for it. So I'll press return or enter on a PC. Can do so again for the browse, and it should go to the same folder. And the file that we're looking for is the Theora OGV file. So let's open that up as well. Then we're going to indicate the type. So the type that we want to indicate here is, again, video /, but this time the video that we're indicating is OGG. So we'll / and close that source. Now one last thing before we leave this. In case we have an older browser that does not support video, and these are few and far between nowadays, we're going to put in a little message here that says your browser does not support the video tag. And once we've got that in place, we should be able to preview this video. So I'm just going to refresh this, and if you go to the design view, you really shouldn't see anything in here. Now I do notice that one thing is different. Because this is a video tag and not a paragraph, it is not indented the way I want to see it. Now the size that I've made it should accommodate 20 pixels of space on either side of that video. So one last thing I want to be doing is going to the CSS styles, and we can introduce a new CSS rule. Now this CSS rule is going to be less specific. We'll just target any video tag because we're only using it on this page, and we do specifically want to have some space on the left of it. So I'm going to click OK. We'll go to the category called box, and within the box let's put a little bit of margin in here. So I'm going to say on the left 20 pixels, might as well say the same on the right, and maybe on the bottom I'll also give it 20 pixels. I don't know if that is going to be exactly what I want to see, so I'm just going to click OK. You can even go to the live view if you wish. And within the live view you really won't see much. You'll just see this little bar right here, but you should be able to tell how much space you've got on either side. Now this is fine, but it's really more important for us to preview this in browsers to see how they look. So let's go to preview. In my case I'm going to say Safari. We'll save both the HTML page as well as the CSS page because we made changes to both. And now if we go to our browser, you can see that this particular page now happens to show a video inside of it. Let's play that video and see what it looks like. So really simple video and a really simple means of incorporating that video into our work. Now let's just go back to Dreamweaver for a second. I'm going to go to the code view, and I just want to show you, if I were to remove the OGG video source, Command X or Control X on a PC, and let's say I were to preview this inside of Firefox. So I'll save the file, and inside the Firefox environment you'll notice that if you do not have an OGG video available, it's just showing you a box with an X in it and it won't play. So let's just quit out of this for a second and we'll go back to Dreamweaver. Now I'm going to Command V or Control V on a PC to put that OGG file back. At this point we'll preview again inside of Firefox. We'll save the HTML file to accommodate the new OGG. And here we are now back in Firefox, and you can see that yes, the video is playing. You may not see the controls until you put your mouse over it, and then you can press play. So what you have there is an OGG file inside of a Firefox environment. So that's it. That's how you can introduce video into your HTML environment, and this is all using the brand new HTML5 video tag and video support in Dreamweaver CS6.